guys, I'm here to show you my quick Incineration Witch tank build. As you can see, I am level 46. I just started this character the other day when when Incinerate came out, so this skill is a lot of fun to use. I am really enjoying it. I was able to basically just play all day yesterday just using Incinerate pretty much from Brutus onwards, and just having so much fun with it that it's a lot of fun. So as you can see, I'm using the Searing Touch unique, and my rolls are pretty crap on there, so I do plan on re-rolling those, but for now it's good because it's an item level 55, so later on I do plan on forcing a 6th link on it. So I have lesser multiple projectiles, linked with Incinerate, linked with Stun, and linked with faster projectiles. So I've actually got a pretty good range. I hit a lot of things, and I can actually stun once I get to the last stage of Incinerate, because the way that Incinerate works is that the longer that you cast it, the more damage you deal. So it actually ends up being pretty awesome once you actually get a little bit of build-up time. So Stun's something that I'm still kind of messing around with. I want to see if that actually will work. I do get enough stuns to make it already to make it interesting when I'm in my final stage, and I can actually stun lock some enemies. So I'm interested in seeing what getting what linking it with stun will do, and if it works, I'll be quite happy with that. So as you can see, otherwise my gear is all hybrid stuff, mostly armor except for this evasion piece, which was just some really good rolls for me. I got this for the dex, got this for the life, and got this for the dex. Also got that. I got some pretty crappy flask. As you can see, I've been trying to drop some alterations into some of them, but it's just not worth it for the most part. So as for my build, as you can see, I start off with the Witch. I go into mana, get life, get these, get this for a quick trip to get up to Eldritch Battery. I grab this life node. I'm grabbing this right now because I need it for prerequisites for Grace mostly, but for later on I do plan on respeccing that. Then I go down here, go back up, get Inner Force, go back down, grab this life, keep going down. I do plan on grabbing this life and then later on this life, but for now I decided to actually just make a rush for Golem's Blood. And after that I plan on either heading towards Unwavering Stance and Iron Reflexes, so I'll just have a lot of armor. As well, I do plan on taking this life node. I plan on cutting here, grabbing these mana nodes, and then grabbing leather and steel for the ignore movement penalties. I thought about grabbing this, but in the end I just get more from this because I also access these life nodes here, which are all worth it. I get this armor, which is good. That's just like pretty much the only thing that's going to help me there is the strength. I get these really good mana nodes, including mana flows, which is awesome. I get attack speed for my leap slam, and then I get leather and steel, which is really useful. Later on, I do plan on grabbing this reduced mana reservation, these two nodes, going over here to grab elemental adaptation. I may grab these, I'm not sure yet. I can easily run my auras right now without these two, but I've recently heard that Eldritch Battery is going to receive a nerf, and depending on what they do with it, I may need to run that. As well, I do plan on grabbing this life. I plan on grabbing this whole area, grabbing these life nodes, going up here, grabbing these life nodes, grabbing Crystal Skin, Avoid Chilled, Avoid Freeze. Planning on grabbing this Avoid Stun here, so that I can get access to Avoid Chilled, Avoid Freeze, because getting frozen can really shut me down. As well, I'm considering grabbing Alchemist and these flask life nodes, because right now I am very much dependent on my flask, and my final build has me running two regen flask, one instant flask, and a granite with a quicksilver. I'm probably going to grab Celerity just so that I can get extra movement speed. One of the big things that I have noticed with this build is that with Incinerate, the faster that you can get back into position, the faster you can start casting again. So that's the main reason I'm grabbing Leather and Steel. I've got a Quicksilver, and I'm thinking about taking Celerity here. As well, I'm thinking about taking this Arcane Efficiency node. That's a really efficient node since I'm grabbing these already. And I am thinking about grabbing, where was it? These mana nodes right here, depending on if I need the mana. Right now, the biggest, as well, I'm also considering grabbing these spell damage nodes right here. But like cast speed is, I'm kind of hesitant to take them to get access to these or this fire damage. I'd probably be more likely to grab these. As well, I'm planning on grabbing these nodes, and then grabbing Avoid Cast Interruption, as well as these. So I'm going to end up with somewhere around 300% increased health, and it's going to be pretty high health. And as well, I'm building this build around the idea that I do plan on trying to invest in a Koans in the later game. I'm probably just going to end up chancing it myself, but anyway. So I run a grand total of 4 auras right now, and what I do is something a little that some people think is a little cheesy, but I don't feel like paying out for a second reduced mana when I can do this. So this is a big pack. This is probably the biggest I've seen in here. I'm a little over leveled for this zone, but it's not a big deal. Like right now, I'm not actually able to socket my flammability or maintain my cost with Fire Pen. So right now that elemental resistance was kind of giving me a bit of a hard deal, but yeah, I'm a little over leveled for Fellshrine, but I really don't have anywhere else that I can really go. I really don't like Western Forest. This build can do Western Forest pretty easily, I just don't like it. So, as well, the neat thing about Incinerate is that you are never going to one-shot yourself on Reflect mobs. Because of the way that Incinerate works, you get a lot of cast, but each cast deals very little damage. So if you see some Elemental Reflect mobs, you can just kind of get a couple cast in, move, regen, get a couple cast in, move, regen. And that's pretty great. Like, since I'm not dealing physical damage, I'm not dealing a lot of burst elemental damage, I don't have any problems with Elemental Reflect.
Too much clutter.
As well, if I just... oh yeah, I forgot to actually empty that out. Oh well. Anyway, so, as you can see, I actually do have Purity. I'm thinking about running it later on, but, to help me get capped, but, it may not happen. It may happen. I don't know yet. It's still kind of in the air. But, as you can see, I clear things pretty fast, and the one thing about this build is that faster projectiles is pretty much necessary, because if you've never seen the default range on Incinerate, so this is my range with faster projectiles. I'm able to hit decently far away. I can hit most of the things on my screen.
I need more mana.
Once I actually get quality on my Incinerate, as well as getting max level faster projectiles, I'll be able to hit things off screen pretty easily. But I'm going to show you what the range is. Yeah, without any kind of projectile speed, it is really short. So once again, so it does make a pretty big difference, and it's pretty important. So this skill is good on... the one thing I have noticed is that if you are in melee range with lesser multiple projectiles, you do actually hit 3 times. But you have to be in melee range.
Too much clutter.
I just do that on reaction. But as you can see, I don't really have too many issues, and right now my armor is pathetic. Like, I don't have any kind of mitigation right now. I have 17 mitigation with determination up because I just don't have that much armor. So and then like I got negative cold resistance and just kind of meh on the other fronts. Oh, I think this is a elemental reflect pack right up ahead, so I can actually show you the effect of elemental reflect on me. Yep. So as you can see, I can just pop a pot if it's AOE and deal with it, and yeah, no problem.
Too much clutter.
With if I once I actually get to the get a 5 link, I do plan on adding in life leech, and with that, it's basically not even an issue. I should be able to easily outreach in it. So the thing that I have noticed is that pretty much everything in your cone is going to get hit. Like there's the projectile is wide enough that with LMP and also GMP you don't have to worry. You just have to aim in the general direction, and as long as it's within the cone, it's gonna hit. But it doesn't really hit twice like say freezing pulse would, unless you are in melee range. So you saw how quickly I killed that guy. So let's kill that guy. As you can see, he's not dying quite as fast. It's because he actually gets hit by, I think it's a grand total of 2 of my 3 projectiles. I was considering going with greater multiple projectiles, but the mana cost at this level is just completely absurd. As well, it doesn't really benefit me greatly. The overall damage that I deal with that is just so minor. And while I was doing something like blind, I was thinking, oh yeah, greater multiple projectiles would be better. But now lesser multiple projectiles seems a lot better for stun. I'm still not entirely sure what I'm going to do with that. I do want to do something like that, and the other choice is knockback. Knockback's been proven to be pretty good against melee with Incinerate, just the same as Flame Totem. But so far, I've I would think that you would need a lot of projectile speed in order to make that work well, because you're going to be pushing away ranged creeps, and in a lot of cases, their natural range is going to be a little bit longer than my range on the projectiles. So it's not really an option. But as you can see, my gear, it's all right. It could be a lot better. But as for what I want on my gear, like health, mana, mana or energy shield, since energy shield is giving me more mana than mana would. I'm using these to help me get some resistances, and I do want resistances. One of the big things that I have noticed in my build is that I don't actually take a single resistance node in my plan, so I'm thinking about taking diamond skin there at least, and potentially trying to grab this diamond skin too, because I am noticing that, and as well, I could potentially go for one of these body and souls. As well, I've considered trying to go for nullification, but I mean, in any case, I'm going kind of far away. I'm probably going to grab that eventually. Probably going to grab that since I'm right next to it. Probably going to grab that since I'll be next to it too. It's just right now, resist is definitely the weak point of this build, which is one reason why I would like to run purity, just to help me make sure that I'm resist capped. And with purity, I'd be getting a higher resist cap anyway. So as for my offset, it's basically just 2 things that I'm using so that I can level up some gems: purity, flammability, and fire pin. Once I actually get enough jewelers and fusings, I do plan on at least trying to get a 5 link on here. But until then, until I actually am able to get enough that I feel safe in doing so, so that I can at least break even, I'm not going to not really going to bother with it. If I could get a 6 slot on here, that'd be great. because then I could just start using fusings on it once I actually get enough. But yeah, so that is the build, and it's a lot of fun. Like, I am having a lot of fun with this build. Um, it Incinerate is a very satisfying skill to use, and I'm quite survivable. I have 1,400 health, which is actually more than my life-based Marauder had, because my life-based Marauder wasn't able to find a single piece of gear with health on it, so he only ended up having like 800 at the same level. So there's of course that, and it's a lot of fun. Incinerate is a lot of fun to use. It's very satisfying, and I actually personally think that it's pretty good so far. I've heard a lot of things about Incinerate, just people not liking it, thinking it's kind of lackluster, but I think it's actually quite good. One of my biggest issues with it is the fact that it doesn't crit, although I can understand why they made it that way, because if you were to take that and then get surgeons, you'd just be able to get so much crit. You just go crit, and then you're able to just basically crit all the time. You're going to be regenerating tons and tons of mana of your flask every time that you crit. It would just be crazy. So I can understand why they did that. And I have been looking into using critical weakness in order to get some crit on there, but I don't really like the idea of being able to be shut down so completely by immune to curse mobs. So it's not something that I'm really considering seriously. As for my curses, I'm pretty much planning to use flammability or elemental weakness, and I'm leaning towards elemental weakness because you end up getting the same amount of minus resist as flammability, but I'm going to be able to be credit to team by also reducing the resistances for everything else. Another thing that I did consider was grabbing static blows and chance to shock, and then using added lightning damage, and that's still something that's on the table. Since it's only 3 extra points to do that, and you could probably do some pretty good stacking on that. But that's something that I'm kind of wanting to avoid personally. But I may end up doing anyway because it is really good. The big thing that I think a lot of people don't actually realize with Incinerate is that Incinerate is a spell that's all about getting lots of small hits, which is one reason why I'm kind of, a little hesitant to say that stun's going to be really good. It's just something that I'm trying out. But because in general, like, while once you actually get up to the third stage, you're dealing a little bit more than the on gem value there. So when I'm at final stage, my base damage is probably close to around 150, somewhere around there per hit, and I'm doing that, every 0.14 seconds. So I mean, I'm just dealing a lot of damage. It's a high DPS skill, but I think a lot of people wanted something that was a bit more ranged, or maybe, and a lot of people seem to think that it was very good, that it would be very good on a totem. I'm not sure where this came from, since Flame Totem is basically Incinerate Totem, but better. Like, Flame Totem gets 13 casts per second with a 10% effectiveness. This gets six casts per second with a 20% effectiveness. So and then you're getting reduced because by, I think it's like 30% because of Spell Totem. So I don't see why anyone would think that Incinerate on a totem would be awesome. Oh, the totems are always standing still, so you're able to get that bonus. But you're very quickly able to get that bonus anyway. And while it is very mana efficient due to the low mana cost of it, and the mana cost mostly comes from just how quickly you cast it, it's still something that I've thought of. And I did actually end up trying this a bit earlier, and I didn't like it. It was not very good. I don't recommend it for anyone. And as well, I generally would recommend that you go for something kind of tanky. And if I wasn't planning on going Coam's Heart, a wand with a shield would have been much, much better. And on the wand, you would probably want to take projectile speed, because then you're just able to very easily get the projectile speed without having to take faster projectiles. So you're able to hit everything that's on the screen much more easily. But I wanted to actually go for a Comb's Heart, be really, really tanky. So I decided that excuse me, but I decided that Searing Touch was just a better choice in that case. As well, the extra damage that I get from the +2 on my level to Incinerate is very nice. So, all in all, it's a pretty strong build so far. I'm only in Cruel, so I have yet to try Merciless, but I am I do plan on actually getting a good deal of armor by the time I start Merciless. So, thanks to Iron Reflex's grace and determination. So, I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to do a bit of face tanking, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to, be a little bit more careful than I have been being in normal and cruel. But when that comes, we'll talk about it. But, yeah. So, once again, the build as of right now. And I will see you next time.